officers that have sent some people to come and tell us to fix ourselves, that we have started fixing ourselves. That is why we don't want to make any filth in Takoradi. We are making sure that as we go for this demonstration, we clear every dirt we make here in Takoradi so that we make Takoradi a clean place, as Ekufuado wanted to make Accra the cleanest place. But the fact is, some of the police officers are trying to distract what we are doing. How does Aboboya, which is following us to collect all the trash we are making, becomes a security threat? How does an Aboboya just coming after us, clearing all the trash we are making? Because people are drinking, people are eating. We are going to make filth in the cities, and they are following us to make sure that they clean all the filth we are making. The security is saying the Aboboya can follow us and collect all the garbages we are making. How does an Aboboya rider following us, collecting the garbage, becomes a security threat?
Bauxite, Bibian Mancha, lithium. Lithium, $150 billion US. Why do engagement? What do you have, Bruni? Say, Bruni, in fact, normal 15% for 60 years. 60 years. Oh, Munya Casano. 60 years. Nanadu Bewaku, Bawumia John Roman Mahabewu. Omo po omina bro abo echiri ba intimate na we me mema council ani nyan wo no de ka nyansa bi anim America man pe ni ye we ya fe boni tuaku no o ma pe na do e ko Guinea akwaka kire Guinea fo say there should be peace in Guinea and to say papa wo wi ase Japan na do wi ase Japan no odi ache na wunu yansu edi the seven kwase asem na wo ja wo ma ho wo mesu no wa fa plane as a charter plane go to union for abraham who solve problem here we go school akwa we are no abet joining unemployed graduate association yes ade aye bisa de kese bia mama ka kwan deadliest road in Africa Accra Cape Coast kwan e kunipa chain ka kwan bia wo Africa aden papa eti na wase baba property na wase yes Ghana benufo monyo mani ye maye enye MP NDC monyo mani ye sebe epabrafo omunyina obia yes rama na mo so yani enna abeka kare ka sabiem abeka kare ma ka sabiem
Right, so those were some sights and sounds from the Fix the Country demonstration in Takoradi, which happened yesterday. And joining us now for more on this is Oliver Baka-Vomowo, who's a convener of the Fix the Country movement. And Dr. Kwame Asante is a political scientist at the University of Ghana. Good morning to you both. And thank you for making time to speak with us. I'm well. So I'll start with you, Oliver. How did the demonstration go for you?
Israel, you failed to now add the new title I've been given, which is Osajefo. And I must insist on it as well.
Oh, who gave you the title?
The people of the Western region have decided to bestow on me Osajefo, which I'm very appreciative of.
Can I just stick with the Oliver Baka-Vomowo that I know?
Oliver Baka-Vomowo, yes. I am appreciative of what's going on. I think it's a difficult conversation to have for people who have become so used to a certain way of things for over 30 years, and giving them and making them believe in the authenticity of their own voices, making them believe that just asking for more would lead to something, making them believe that the more you come out with the street, something can change. It's been a difficult process and a difficult conversation to have. But as much as we've committed ourselves to that process, as much as we decided to have that conversation, I think people are rebuilding their faith. I think people are beginning to see that really there's a new dynamic and there's a new energy in the air, and that they're having a sense of belief that persons in leadership will respond positively. The persons will really engage the conversations around how do we move the country substantively forward. And I say this particularly for a political class that is always being theoretical about the youth bulge, about youth unemployment being a security threat, about the uprising and potential African Spring. And we say this as throwaway comments to sound smart, to sound as expert, but we never give it a practical resonance. And that is where I'm hoping that seeing this and seeing a lot of young people continue to want to engage in the democratic process would open up pathways where we take people's problems seriously, that we deal with these concerns as a priority of our democracy. But if we don't, we as young people do not know any other way to engage political leadership to reforming the state.
All right, so when this demonstration started, or when this movement started, there was a number of familiar faces that we saw. It looks like we're not seeing them as often as we used to, and it doesn't look like I saw them at the Takoradi demonstration. Where are they?
You know, one of the reasons of building something like this is that we are committed to the idea that this is a leaderless process. And by that, we mean that the persons who are involved in the project of speaking, of engaging themselves, have to be the individuals themselves, and has to be Ghanaians. You know, so many people have said this. And I think even yesterday we were observing Kwame Nkrumah Day, which is one of the reasons why we came down to the Western region, that Kwame Nkrumah himself talked about, nobody can give the people freedom. They have to claim it for themselves. So what we have done is that every place we go, we are making sure that people do not create a cult in the movement. We're not building a cult around personalities or individuals or anything of that regard. And that we are bringing in new people continuously and every day and having them take ownership of their own advocacy and their own freedom. And so by doing this, and we already told you from the very beginning that one, we're committed to a leaderless process. That two, this looks nothing like the different ways we've mobilized in the past. And so by doing this and continuing to change the persons involved and the persons speaking, we ensure that there's a less risk of capture. And I think that a lot of people who are going to be studying this, and perhaps Dr. Issa can speak to this as well, about the novelty of the way in which we're mobilizing, which will inform how generations engage political systems in Ghana and across Africa generally.
But Oliver, interestingly, you have been a permanent fixture because we've seen you across in all of. So how come you're there, but the others are not being seen? Because you're emerging as the natural leader, the front runner.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think every movement needs a lawyer. And when you're dealing with demonstrations and you're dealing with police engagements and things like that, I have decided that I don't do the kind of law where I make rich people richer. That the law for me is a duty to serve people. And I'm using my law in the service of persons who have been made voiceless. So many people go into law school and say they want to become voice for the persons who are unable to speak for themselves and never actually live that ethic. We spend our entire life chasing land cases from here to there that we never really reflect on the role of law and the way in which it can substantively bring justice to people. That is the service to the cause and my calling. It's not about leadership. It's not about being continuous fixture. But that as long as I've decided that I'm not going to be making money out of my law degree, that is what I'm going to always continue to do.
Let me bring in Dr. Kwame Asante into the conversation. Good morning to you once again, Dr. Asante. So you've seen the Fix the Country movement and the way they've been doing their things. And what do you make of yesterday's demonstration, first of all?
Yeah, thanks, Israel. I think yesterday it was well organized. And now if you follow the writings on the placards, they are getting their acts together, asking a few things to be done. For instance, fix the issue of corruption, deal with the killings in Takoradi, and so forth and so on. This is what an anomic pressure group does. You take a few things that you can handle in no time and deal with it very fast. And they are organizing along those lines. I think it's a good one. This will, bring government up to speed with that. And then government can also learn from what they are asking and fix it. These things they are asking is easy to handle within a short time. So if government is serious about it, I'm not sure it should take government a long time to fix it. So I think they are making progress, and that is how it has to be, because you see, democracy without criticisms is an empty democracy. You need people who are sitting on the touchlines to, as it were, guide you through the process, because everybody is part and parcel of the process, and that they have a stake in there. And government also owe it a duty to itself and to the people of this country to be able to respond to some of these things.
Dr. Asante, you say they're making progress. What is it that you're seeing that convinces you that progress is being made?
Yes, you recall the last meeting we had, they were talking about changing constitution, asking for the change of the political system and all that. These are very broad issues that you cannot confront within a short space of time. But now, typical anomic civil society organization, they are asking for very, very little things that are very germane to the governance architecture of this country. Issue of corruption, fix it.
They haven't abandoned. They haven't abandoned the change the constitution bit. Or Oliver Bakabomo, is this something that you've abandoned?
No, I'm talking about
see,
what
I think
one
of the things that happens is that people often tend to read placards and determine that it is a sum total of what individuals are saying. What we have said is that we're going to the different parts of the country and we're engaging different folks in different parts of Ghana. We've come to the Western region, and Westerners are speaking to specific Western issues, right? And people have to translate governance to have a particular meaning in their lives. And the ways in which governance expresses itself in their lives express themselves, and you see them on placards. But it's a broader programmatic agenda which requires that justice must be sustained through the democratic and constitutional reforms. Everybody is talking about this. CDD is talking about constitutional overhaul. So it's not something so out of the world for us to continue to push on and demand for. But I think the mistake people make is that people are always looking for quick fixes. And Doctor talked about something that can be fixed in a short term. The problems of this country is not going to happen, it's not going to be solved with quick fixes. It has to be broad, it has to be long term, and it has to be sustained. So we are committed to that sustenance. We have no interest in becoming a, anomic civil society organization in the traditional terms. And if that's what the people are expecting, we are sorry to disappoint. Because the broad range of those civil society organizations haven't brought the transformation and the liberation that people are asking for. I think that it has to be something much more broader, deeper, and truly reflect a sense of we know what is wrong with this country and we want to really get the basics right. That message continues to stay.
All right. So, Dr. Asante, they're still looking at a number of things. They're not looking for quick fixes, as he's saying.
Well, I think I've given my position on this at the last time we spoke, so I'm not going to belabor the point. But what I'm saying that take it or leave it, this is a anomic civil society organization in the sense that there's no leadership. And as my colleague just said, at each point in time, wherever they find themselves, some people will lead the processes and all that. This is a typical anomic civil society organization.
But
Dr.
Asante, how does this work, though? I mean, how sustainable can it be that they're leaderless? It can work up to a point, but I think at some point it's going to just break apart, don't you think?
No, for such groups, there are people who urge them on, who float ideas, they discuss and all that. But you see, look at their modus of operandi. They are saying that wherever they get to, they talk about things that affect the people there. Then some people emerge naturally as leaders of that process at that particular point in time. So this is very typical of anomic civil society organization. But you see, for anomic to survive, they don't need to, get on to programs that will take them a very long time to achieve. And that is just what I have said earlier on. You need something that you can put your hand around it and handle it in no time, because you see, the problem of sustenance becomes much difficult when you want to engage in that process. But they have their own scheme, and they know how to execute it. For me, the good news is that we are getting young people in the democratic process who are also alive to the processes, the problems that we have within the political space, and they are also want to contribute their quota through these processes where they vent out their grievances and they use the legal processes to champion them. For me, as a student of politics, I'm cool with that, provided they work within the framework of the law.
Now, Oliver, how far with the collection of signatures for the change in the constitution that you've been pushing? Hello, Oliver. All right, so we'll try and re-establish connection with Oliver Bakabomo. But I'll come to you, Dr. Kwame Sensante. So I asked the question if you said that you've seen progress, but I'd also want to find out, do you think that government is doing anything that suggests that it is actually paying attention to this movement?
Definitely so. You think what the people are expressing, government will turn a blind eye to that? No serious government will do that. Then the government will be very naive. And I'm not sure this government is like that. The government has taken political notice of what is going on. And I'm sure they are responding gradually. Some of the results we want to see immediately. We are not going to find that. It's going to be a gradual process, but we will be there. And I think, I have no doubt in my mind that government has taken serious note of what is going on and trying to fix it gradually, because these things have effects on not only the governance process, but also in elections. Elections, as I've said already some time ago, that it's nothing but contest of ideas and, more importantly, a referendum of your work. So if there are problems and you run away with, they will become albatross around your neck and then take your head off when we get to election. And I'm not sure any serious parties such as what MPP will sit down for this thing to slip through their fingers without taking political advantage of it. There are good things that the government can derive from this, i.e. trying to do the needful and then also improve their chances of breaking the eight, as they are always saying, and also instilling confidence within the political system. If government is able to do something to create employment for the youth, so that our brothers and sisters who are talking about unemployment, which is a reality, they are able to get jobs, who is not interested in that?
Okay, so it's one thing government taking notice of it, but it's another thing communicating. Oliver, I believe you're back on. I want to find out, do you see government sending any signal suggesting that they're paying attention to this movement?
You know, I hope they are, right? That's what we elected them to do. But I have primarily, one of the things I've come to anticipate is that when we've gone through a lot of the places in the coasts of the Western region, a lot of the fisher folk have replaced the Ghana flag with foreign flags, because a lot of them are saying that the state has no presence in their lives. And so there was only one boat out of about 100 that had a Ghana flag, together with other countries as well. And it translates for me as a person who do not want to get their hopes up about the country anymore. And I think that for me at this point, because I don't want to get my heart broken, and I'm a hopeless romantic, I don't want to get my heart broken, I've decided that I'll keep my faith and my trust in the people. And so the responses I'm looking for, I look for within the people that we speak to and citizens. Whether the government is reacting as people are expecting it to, or whether it's not doing it. Because I have no expectations of it, there's very little room left for me to be disappointed or any other thing. But continuing placing my faith in the people has yielded results. And I'm trusting that result, and I'm believing that as we continue to have conversations targeted at the people for them to wake up and to demand more, that is giving us the benefit we're asking for.
All right, and I was asking earlier about the collection of signatures to get the constitution changed. How far with that?
Yeah, so one of the things we have done is that, and for instance, having been in the Western region here, as one of the, perhaps the dead zones for internet or any connectivity. And internet has been such a challenge for such a major town and an oil-producing region that I cannot understand or believe that we live in the same country with folks in this country. There's no, in this part of the country, it translates to so many ways in which they are disenfranchised and participating in the national conversation, or even gaining meaningful employment, which requires internet connectivity. And so because of this, we have devolved the process into an offline process as well, where we have fake notebooks and ledgers, where we are collecting signatures in addition to what is happening online. I think at this point, we are globally, in terms of the numbers we have, I think we're somewhere around 30,000. And we announced this about less than a month ago. That is very, very encouraging. And we are trusting that as we go into the offline spaces where persons have no connection to internet, and we continue to sign individuals one after a time, without the budget that census officers had from the Electoral Commission, we would be able to reach our 1 million mark in good time.
All right, but I'm sure you have been encouraged by the take-up, because we've had other organizations who've been speaking to the same cause, calling for the Constitution to be looked at again.
Well, you see, and that's one of the things I'm surprised about, the lack of imagination of our political system. Because when we talk about the 1 million signatures, everybody for some reason said, but show me in fine blueprint in the current Constitution how you reform the Constitution with 1 million signatures. And I'm always very much surprised by the lack of imagination. The fact that so many people are speaking up today, so many people are asking for this same constitutional overhaul, tells you about the staying power of ideas. And that is the beauty of what we are doing. Let me give you another example. Before we started talking, we had gone so many years in undercurrent administration and even extending a little back, where nobody was talking about demonstrations or anything of that, agitations of any sort. And when we continue to fight and push, it seems like we've opened the floodgates. Like everybody now wants to go on a demonstration. Everybody wants to do a civil action. That is the beauty of being able to encourage people to find their voices. So this is what we are seeing, and that dynamic will continue along the ecosystem and also along the food chain as more and more groups come up and demand this. We don't want paternity or ownership over the project. We want Ghanaians to own it. We want Ghanaians to demand it. And the 1 million signatures is only symbolic on our part, but the broader echo of it would reach out 30 million Ghanaians.
All right, thank you very much, Oliver Baka-Vomo, who's one of the conveners for the Fix the Country movement. Thank you for speaking with us. And also thank you to you, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. Unless you have something else you'd want to say before we get to go, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante.
Well, I think I'm fine. We are just observing what time. I'm sure we'll know all the fine details that they have for us. And then we will also follow. And then we interrogate the issues.
All right. Thank you very much. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante is a political scientist with the University of Ghana. We've also been speaking with Oliver Baka-Vomo of the Fix the Country movement. You're watching the AM show. We have more coming your way. Don't go away.